Welcome to Desk Geek. I wanted to do a follow-up video on the Blink security system, and the reason is there's been a lot of activity question-wise on the Blink home security, a lot of interest in that system, which I think is fantastic. And I certainly have grown to love this system. It's one of my favorite security systems that I've owned, and I've had several iterations out there, as I noted in my previous video. This one certainly gives me the simplest setup at the best price point that I could find, that I felt I got most of the features that I needed. There are certainly some features after I've used this for a few months that I think could be added to it, but otherwise it's a very, very solid system that they've released here. So let's get into the questions. The first question I got was from PHAQ. I think it's FAQ. FAQ. Oh, I see. I see what you did there. Wow. Anyways, his question is, do you have to be within range of your home Wi-Fi to view the cameras, get motion notifications, etc., or does it work when you're away from home? And this individual, of course, had a situation where someone had broken his home. So, great question. I'm not sure if I covered it in my first video very well, but you certainly do not have to be within on your Wi-Fi network in order to view the camera. You can be anywhere where you have signal on your cell phone, data signal that is. So once you do the initial setup and it's synced with your phone through the app, you can go to, if you don't have Wi-Fi or a cell phone signal, you can go to any Wi-Fi connection like at McDonald's or any public area and take a look at the video if you want. Additionally, if you have cell phone signal, you can watch it anywhere. So that's definitely a big advantage. And if they didn't have that, that would be certainly a huge disadvantage to that. So very good question. I'm glad you asked it because that's something a lot of people probably want to clarify. Ken Fletcher. See, I was thrown off by that first name that got me to say that out loud. Ken asked some demonstrations about live view. He didn't see any demonstrations about live view in the clip and really wanted to see that in there. So I thought that was a great opportunity to show you live view. It certainly has live view options. If you're looking here on my screen, you have this camera icon here, and when I click that, I can go immediately into a live view of my front door camera. It's obviously not very exciting, but you can see it's live. And about every 10 seconds, it's going to ask me if I want to continue to watch the video live. And there's a reason for this. This system does not hook into any of your AC outlets, so it's completely battery powered. And the batteries can last a really long time, and you see that continue button pop up below there. And so in order to keep these batteries running for a very long time without you having to change them, you can change them, they are changeable, but without you having to acquire that expense, it does pop up and ask you to make sure, because obviously it's using battery power every second that this is on in a live view. But you can certainly keep clicking continue and watch those videos live. So very good feature that I've used certainly when I've gotten text messages while I'm out, like a UPS man or something stops by. It will text and say, an alert from your Blink system, and you click on that and you can go into your folder here and I can look at that video, but I may, if I'm not quite sure who it is or what's going on, there's some strange activity, I can switch to a live view. I would recommend you certainly allow your cameras to record as much as possible, because there's not much you're going to be able to do in a live view. Live view is great if you want to make sure your kids got into the door, etc. But outside of that, you're going to want these recordings. When you're in live view, it's not recording. You're going to want these recordings because that's what you would send to the police, that they could get the face of the person, etc. So I would use live view sparingly, only when maybe initially you get that notification, and it's only going to stop recording for that one camera, which is why I also recommend a multi-camera setup, and I'm going to show you some more of that here. So now I'm in my clip roll, and I'll show you some videos from Saturday, and you can see I have two videos from Saturday at 10:06. This was when my wife and I were coming home from the aquarium, I believe it was, and the kids were asleep, so we snuck in and we didn't disarm the system before we came in. So you can see I have the living room and the front door here. Front door recorded first, of us walking up, and then the living room second. And what is so great about that is we have two recordings hitting different views here because I have those two cameras. So you could catch them on multiple fronts in case maybe they ducked and saw the front door camera. They're going to get hit the second they walk into the front door. So I'll just show you just a quick second of that. So you can see us coming up there with the kids. And that's a 10-second clip, but I'm not going to bore you with that. And then the living room view of us walking in afterwards. So obviously if we'd walked towards that camera, it would have got our faces better there. But in this case, the video goes for about, I have the settings for about 10 seconds. So it takes about 10 seconds of it. And then if they had crossed into other sections of my home, the other camera would have picked it up, such as the basement, etc. And then under each camera, and I showed this a little bit before, but I'll go into a little more detail here. You can name each camera. You can obviously enable the motion detection, the delay, the sensitivity, which is really important because in the basement specifically, I had situations where moth or something would get into the basement and it would set it off. But if I set the sensitivity to about 3 for the basement, then that doesn't happen. So I'm not getting kind of false alarms. So it's waiting for something big really to cross its threshold. And then the clip length, the max is 10 seconds, and I've set all my cameras to that. And again, that's to save battery life, but for me, it's more important to get the longest length that I can out of the clip. And then you can control the illumination. If you saw in those videos, you'll see kind of, if you go back, some of that light that the video recorder, the video device issues forth. And that actually is really kind of a deterrent as well, because when they walk up, if you have that illumination on, those lights are bright. I can tell you, being someone who stepped in front of them many times, or forgot that the system was on, and I go get the kids something out of the refrigerator in the middle of the night or something, and that light just all of a sudden pops on. It's pretty startling, and certainly could startle an intruder or let them know you have a camera there and make them think twice, hopefully. And then you can enable audio, and then of course it gives you your settings on when the system was last updated for firmware, and you can update it from here, which is great. Temperature, Wi-Fi signal strength, sync module signal strength, and your battery. So all of those settings there. Now, as far as features I wish that the device had, any type of audible alarm would be really, I think, an additional deterrent. I have some good neighbors, and if they had heard, an audible alarm or something going off, they would certainly call the cops or investigate and see what's going on, or call us. And so having an audible alarm would be very beneficial, especially since when you're sleeping at night, you're only getting a text message. So if you don't have your text set to something that's going to wake you up, or you're a very heavy sleeper, you may not notice that your system has gone off. So I set my text message to something that I know will get my attention for this, but that is kind of a defect in my mind. I wish they just had a separate audible system that you could hook up that would just kind of give a blaring alarm, or maybe some, beeps or something, maybe not give you a heart attack. Or if you had an away setting, one that was blaring, and then while you're at home, one that was just loud enough to get your attention in case you had a false alarm or something. That would be a really cool feature to add on to it. And then the ability to record longer lengths of film, I think, is important. There are a couple situations where there was activity I thought was strange at my front door, but the angle of the camera was not able to get the person's face. Now, they never entered into my living room or anything, or they would have gotten picked up there where there's a little more light, or the different shadows and different things don't affect it like the front door does. But still, if it had a little longer length, it would have captured them leaving and give me a better idea of who it was. So having some additional seconds there would be beneficial, probably 20 or 30 seconds, even though that would certainly sacrifice battery life. But outside of that, I really can't think of a better system for the price that you can get into that has most of the features that I need, and I think you can work around any of those issues that I mentioned there. And then you have your camera button here on the side, so you know what that is. That just takes an updated picture for you here of what's going on. So you can have it take a snapshot that updates this picture here for your app page, or take a picture at that moment. So if you have looked at live view and somebody's standing right there with a gun, then you could get out of live view and click that photo icon, and it's going to take a picture of it right then. But I would just let the camera do its thing at that point and just record. So those are the questions that I have. Actually, I have one more question here. It was from Charles Lang. And if I'm in the living room watching TV, do I need to disarm the camera so that the motion will stop recording? So this is kind of going back to that motion sensitivity setting and also about the angle of the camera. Obviously, there is more to the right of my living room here, and there's more off to the left. I want to capture that front door when they're walking in, and so that's where my camera's at. However, if I didn't want that TV activity picked up, I may move, since it's on a completely 360-degree roll ball on the back, so you can tilt it and move it any way you want. I might cut out more of that right so that that motion sensor is focused just on that front door. And if I wanted to leave it on while I was at home, then you could do that by keeping it out of range. Also, you could certainly turn the sensitivity down so that it's not picking up every time you move your arm or remote or something, but rather just if you get up and move a lot, and that would be a way to work around that as well. But it is motion detected, so you can play around with those settings and the angles for your home and where you put this. I definitely suggest, and what makes it really easy when you're mounting is you can get up on a ladder, you can put the camera where you think you want it, not fully mount it, open up the app, see what the current view is, and make sure that's the area that you want to snap, and that's the best way to really set it up. And I will show you a picture here of the additional USB drive that I have in it so that I can hold more of the recordings. I've not had to delete any at all. I have a 16 gigabyte USB thumb drive just pushed into the USB slot on the side of the Blink Home Security module. So you can put a USB hard drive, or you can use a thumb drive like I have, and I'll take a picture of that so you can have as much storage space as you need so you can keep those recordings going. So that's it. That's a follow-up video. I had enough questions that I felt this warranted one. I hope you've enjoyed the videos on the Blinks. It certainly got a ton of views and a lot of likes, and I really appreciate that. If you like this content, there's a lot more where this came from, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's just a click for you, and it really helps me out. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to more comments and answering your questions, and I will talk to you soon.